Good afternoon and welcome back to our Info Day on the last work program for Horizon Europe covering the years 2006 and 27 for the ERA part of the WIDERA Work Programme. I'm here this afternoon with Iphigenia and Georgos. You have seen them in the morning already, but we have some news because in the meantime the Commission has formally adopted the work programme, so it's no longer a draft. So the link that we sent this morning around is still valid and has the final version, and the official publication and call opening will happen tomorrow and in the next days. Also, as a reminder, on the next slides you will always see the small hashtag for the Slido. Use that because that's your way of submitting questions now for our discussion in the studio. If you have questions afterwards, you can always submit them via the Research Inquiry Service. We get back to you quickly and give you then an update on your question. That has also the advantage that other users can also see the question and the replies. Now, this afternoon, the third pillar on citizens and science for ERA. This is about implementing approaches that connect better citizens and society with the researchers. It is about citizen engagement, citizen science, events, and the likes. It relates to three of our policy areas: trust in science, knowledge valorization, and citizens and societal engagement. So it's all about having a better alignment and articulation between society's needs and the researchers. We have in both years calls. In 2026, 2026, we have the call on fostering citizen engagements for more responsible and democratic R&I. We have one topic on the European Citizens Hackathon Championships. And we have both in 26 and 27 the Science Comes to Town call, covering the activities in the years 28 and 29. And last but not least, we have a second call in the year 2027 promoting public engagement in R&I and scientific literacy. The first and the last topic will be presented by Georgos, and Iphigenia will present the hackathon. And then we have a second session where we have colleagues presenting the Science Comes to Town. And with that, over to you, Georgos.
Thank you. So now we present the activities on fostering citizen engagement for more responsible democratic R&I. So the main elements for these two areas of this topic. In terms of impact, what we want to achieve is to increase public engagement and alignment of research innovation with society's needs, expectations and values, thereby enhancing the democratic character and impact of science in the ERA. These are all actions that contribute to the ERA policy, structural policy, enhancing trust in science through citizen participation. And in terms of key principles, as you see, and much in alignment with the rest of the work program, these are focused on openness and a broad reach, selecting one area, developing predefined activities, and reaching out to large communities of stakeholders. The budget of this is 2 million. The type of actions are CSAs, and you can find all this information, of course, in the work program. It's a balanced portfolio evaluation approach. Next slide, please. Area 1. Area 1 is citizen science for enhancing democratic governance. The specific impact that we aim to achieve is to improve framework conditions with a view to ameliorating links between citizen science and democratic governance. In terms of expected outcomes, what this means is that we expect an improved framework conditions for integrating citizen science in democratic governance, considering, of course, issues of institutional feasibility and preparedness, and including protocols and working modalities that foster the use of citizen science data in policies. So this is the more governance aspect of it. Improved data practices, which we know are very important in this domain, and as they are employed by researchers and experts in relevant initiatives. And of course, increased awareness and about the value that it generates and the valuable scientific knowledge generated by citizen science and its actual and real contributions to tackle societal challenges. Target groups: research performing and funding organizations, universities, generally research innovators, infrastructures, civil society organizations, of course, paramount in this, and policymakers. Key elements in the scope: recommendations, of course, on how to set up protocols supporting data quality, comparability, and interoperability in citizen science. As I mentioned before, these are all very important in order to move forward with this. demonstrate how citizen science can be introduced in institutions to greater preparedness and coherence across different levels of governance, which is a sticky point when it comes to the institutional aspect, and while also addressing issues of equity in public participation, which again is a constant feature that we need to address. Evidence of the impact of citizen science in policy change, which is of course again something very important and is expected by our stakeholders and the policymakers, and raising awareness among relevant stakeholders on incentives for the research community to engage in citizen science. And with that, we can move to area 2, which is about guiding principles for inclusive engagement in R&I. The specific impact here is to make the ecosystem of R&I more participatory, trustworthy, democratic, and improving its capacity to tackle societal challenges, again in alignment with the ERA structural policy. The expected outcomes are enhanced institutional and organizational capacities in relation to public engagement, actionable pathways for strengthening the co-creation of R&I by society, and evidence of the impacts of public engagement, common ERA approaches for researchers, policymakers, public engagement professionals, and communication experts to boost engagement in R&I and science communication. Target groups, again, research performing and funding organizations, universities, research innovators, policymakers, science communicators here, more specifically, public engagement professionals, again, specifically, and members of the media in general. Key elements in the scope. So what we would like to see are recommendations for mechanisms, guidelines, funding schemes, co-creation methodologies as they would be relevant for RPOs and RFOs, for sustainable citizen participation and engagement in R&I of diverse groups of citizens, and of course including those not habitually involved in science. Recommendations to support institutional capacity building and structures and careers in research performing organizations in relation to facilitating science-society links through science communication, engagement, and participation of diverse groups of citizens. Establish the evidence base which exists out there on the effectiveness and impact of public engagement and science communication. Guidance for developing ethical guidelines for citizen engagement, participation, and ensuring their inclusion in institutional ethics and integrity committees and frameworks, and proposing pathways to tackle issues of equity and inclusion in public engagement, taking of course into consideration that this is a more complex issue that relates as well to the awareness and beliefs of citizens. That concludes that part, and now we can move on to citizen science, but in here promoting public engagement in R&I and scientific literacy. This is for 2027. In terms of main elements, the overall impact is to promote policies and practices delivering approaches, innovative approaches for enhancing science-society links and promoting scientific literacy. Again, this connects to the ERA structural policy on enhancing trust in science through citizen participation, as it is included in the relevant council recommendation. The key principles are the same: openness and broad reach. The budget is 2 million, the indicative number of progress is 2. The evaluation, again, is a balanced portfolio approach, and we're always talking about CSAs. Moving on to the areas. Area 1 is on youth, science, and democracy. We expect first a specific impact, which is innovative ways to effectively and inclusively engage and involve young people in research and innovation. Expected outcomes are innovative ways for engaging them in science communication and promoting scientific literacy, and the common ERA approaches in engaging, communicating with young people in relation to R&I. Target groups, again as before, are RPOs, universities, research innovators, civil society organizations working with youth, science communicators, policymakers, a broad compass gamut of stakeholders. Key elements in terms of scope, of course, to engage young people in different national settings, in participatory science activities that tackle complex social issues. We'll give some examples. Of course, these are not exclusive and constraining. you can read some of them there offered, like climate change, biodiversity loss, digital skills, economic effects of AI transitions, etc. While of course ensuring the inclusion of young people which are not habitually involved in science, which is always something, like I said before, that is a concern of some sort and that needs to be tackled, and we need to be working on that with the community of stakeholders. The other element in the scope is communities of practice that include public engagement, expert science communicators, citizen scientists, youth organizations, researchers and innovators, and policymakers, with a view to co-developing handbooks and guidelines on engaging youth in science. And finally, to have recommendations for developing common era pathways, approaches to engaging and communicating with young people as regards research and innovation. Area 2. It's a scaling up science engagement at EU level. The overall impact is to promote scientific literacy, dialogue and constructive interactions between scientists and the wider public. Expected outcomes is to scale up national initiatives in these domains to the ERA level, taking into consideration different audiences, languages and contexts, of course. To improve engagement and cooperation of researchers and innovators, science communicators, and public engagement experts with civil society, and to increase understanding of the value of scientific processes by society and the importance of public needs and values at the same time in addressing societal challenges. So it goes both ways. Target groups, RPOs, universities, research innovators, civil society organizations, working with youth may be not necessary for this to be explicitly targeted there. Maybe it's a bit of a typo for the slide. Science communicators, policymakers. Second slide, please. Key elements in terms of scope: online dialogue and platforms in different national language settings, containing profiles of researchers and innovators and their availability for public visits, and the scientific issues to be discussed. The platform should also facilitate the arrangement of meetings between the researchers and the interested organizations or institutions. Then implementing the meetings while taking care to reach out and include members of the public not habitually involved in science, and adapt the science communication and public engagement for different audiences and their needs and expectations, languages and contexts. And at the end, to take stock of all the visits and provide lessons learned and recommendations for future development of such activities. And with that, I think we're done.
Thanks a lot, Georgas. We continue immediately with the last topic in our session here. That's the European Citizens Hackathon Championship. Iphigenia, please.
Okay. So we can have the first slide. Okay, so this topic is about implementing for 3 consecutive years a European Citizens Hackathon Championship. Now, with Citizens Hackathons, we mean open innovation competitions which are driven by the needs of citizens, and where citizens, innovators, students, and researchers form joint teams and in a very short time develop innovative solutions from existing excellent research. So the scaling up of this hackathon model to the championship means that local hackathons take place in different regions across Europe, and the winners move on to a European championship. Now, a lot of information on this model of the Citizens Hackathon and the championship itself you can find also on the knowledge valorization platform, which the link to the platform is actually exists in the text of the work program, but you can also Google it. And you can see also a previous work where we have piloted the Citizens Hackathon approach, but also the championship itself. And from this learned in order to now create this topic, which is a coordination and support action with a total budget of 3 million. As I said, for running three consecutive years the championship, but also possibly for another year added to the project as one of the most important elements is the follow-up support to the winners. So in order to have an extra year to continue to support the winners of the final year. Now, to go a little bit back, what do we expect from this topic? First of all, hundreds of innovative solutions. And this is very important because one of the things that we learned from testing the hackathon model and the championship is that this model of cooperation, of bringing together citizens and researchers in these competitions, does really create a lot of very practical, applicable, and innovative solutions. And it can create a very, very rich portfolio of new innovations. On the other hand, the hackathons are training grounds. They are very good tools to train also people who have no background in business or in research, to train in entrepreneurship, to create a business mindset, as well as, of course, as collaboration and team and participation to solutions. The third important thing with this championship is awareness of societal challenges, because the theme of the citizens' hackathons, as I said, they are driven by the needs of citizens. So they very often address challenges which are societal challenges, which are problems that citizens want solved. So by participating in the hackathons, the participants gain a better understanding of how research and innovation can actually contribute to society. So this is the fourth element or outcome, the increased trust in science because of taking part in how science and research delivers solutions for society. Now, if we can move to the next slide, and I will afterwards go back. So, as I said, this topic is about bringing together researchers and citizens from across Europe to work in transnational, transdisciplinary teams to address societal challenges. They will use the research that already exists, available research from the researchers. This is why we bring together the researchers and the citizens. But the solutions have to address needs of the citizens. Now, what do we need to have in this topic? First of all, there are two phases in the championship. The first phase takes place across Europe, and these are physical events or physical hackathons which can be hosted in at least 14 places across Europe. Ideally in all member states and associated countries, but even if not hosted in some of them, it is a condition that all member states and associated countries can participate. So they will have to combine countries in one hosting location. Now, what will be the challenges to be addressed by these 3-year competitions? The themes will be societal challenges. So, for example, the one we piloted last year, it was to address climate change, and it was in particular in collaboration with 2 missions, the smart cities and the adaptation to climate change. So it was about how citizens see climate change and what they can do to address it. in the sense of finding innovative solutions in collaboration with researchers. The themes of the current current topic will be also addressing societal challenges, but they are not defined at this stage. They will be defined from the winning proposal in a very short, I think it is 3 months after the grant is signed. And will have to be approved by the European Commission, because it is also important to have an alignment with policy priorities of the Commission. So the idea of the winners of the final European Championship, the winning teams actually, because it's not an individual winner. There will be 3 winning teams every year, and they will be awarded a prize. Now, can we go, no, let me finish this and then I will go back to the previous slide again. What is very important and needs to be highlighted is that the consortium should not only implement the hackathon successfully, so reach out to engage citizens, match the researchers with the citizens, run the hackathons, help the winning teams to move to the next stage of the final European event, but most importantly, it will need to have a plan for support to uptake the solutions of the winners. And this is of course challenging, because hackathons usually focus on the co-creation stage, but this is an additional phase to this action that we have included and consider very important. Now, there will be 3 hosting cities, 1 for each year. And of course, we need to highlight that there should be synergies with other activities, such as the Science Comes to Town and other relevant competitions. Very important, because these are physical events, but there is also some digital infrastructure in organizing them, is the question of inclusivity. We want the hackathons to be accessible to all European citizens. Now, if I can go back to the previous slide for 1 minute, the financial support to the winning teams will be up to 20,000 euros for each team. So every year up to 60,000 euros will be given in prizes. This is described in the call text. And in addition, in order to organize the local hackathons, to host the events and so on, there can be subcontracting. But also important is to include in the consortium the partners that need to be engaged in order for this action to be successful at all stages, at the engagement stage, but also at the follow-up stage. So that means that the consortium should include not only partners who have experience in running hackathons, but also partners who have an interest in implementing the solutions that will come out of the hackathons and in supporting the teams of researchers to move on and bring their results to society and the market. So it could be cities, for example, who have problem that will be addressed, and companies and so on. I think I can stop here, and if we have questions, I will be very happy.
Okay, thank you. So this is clearly a topic where there are a lot of details in the call text that you have to take into account when drafting the proposal. So it's a 4-year project typically. You run during 3 years the hackathons. You make sure that each hackathon takes place in at least 14 locations, good geographical coverage. You have to include in the budget within the 3,180,000 to cover the prices for the 3 years. There's a clear expectation of supporting the winners and perhaps also the others, the uprunners, in exploiting the results from the hackathon. So there is a lot of boxes to tick, and then you come in with the creativity to organize the process, make sure there is a good visibility. Perhaps in terms of visibility, Iphigenia, what are our expectations in terms of promotion, publicity? Can we support that? How can that look?
Of course, it is a project. It is a coordination support action. So it will not have a special treatment compared to others. But given that there is a lot of interest in also working with citizens in this case, we have certain tools like the knowledge valorization platform. You have the ERA platform. So I think that we can see, provided that the results are really good, how we can disseminate further and promote.
Good, thank you. There are a couple of questions on the hackathon. So one of them is, how big do you expect the consortium to be? What types of organizations? And I think that's an important one. On the themes of the annual hackathon, I think you explained already that there is a proposal coming from the consortium for each and every year. But what are expectations in terms of topics to be addressed and how to select them?
Yes, I think these are both very good questions, because these are a little bit open in the sense that we don't want, of course, the consortium to be too big so that it is not possible to manage. At the same time, it cannot be, it should not be only types of organizations that have experience in hackathons, so innovation consultancies and so on. As I said, it is important to ensure that the winners will be supported after the hackathons are finished. And that means that organizations who are interested in the solutions, organizations who, for example, regional organizations, civil society organizations, but also companies who will take part in the development of solutions, investors and others should be either part of the consortium or linked to the consortium. So I think it's not how big it should be, but to have all the essential elements to make the action successful. And now regarding the themes, we thought very much about that, whether we should define the themes. First of all, since it is a 3-year action, we thought it was better to leave it open and also to see what come really as challenges from the society, from the citizens. So we don't expect the proposals to even give indications of the themes that they will propose, but to have a plan so that this can be developed and they can accommodate different types of societal challenges and propose them.
Okay, and of course this is the kind of project where the Commission, the executive agency and the project work closely together, so there is a dialogue that will help them to establish this. Okay, quickly on the question of, can consortia apply to both Science Comes to Town and Citizens Hackathons? In principle, yes. I believe in terms of consortium composition, there have to be differences because the requirements are different. And of course, you have to be very clear in demonstrating that we're not double funding activities. Also, given the timeline of the hackathon, the Science Comes to Town, I think it's better to seek collaboration, but as I said, it's not excluded. Perhaps on this element of youth and science, going to you, Yorgos, you have one area on innovative ways to effectively engage and involve young people in R&I. We have now seen the example of the hackathon and other competitions. What other things can we look at when we talk about innovative ways? What's your expectation in terms of areas that can be covered? Have we experience of similar projects that people can pick up on?
Well, The areas are mentioned, we provide some examples, but of course, as I said, we don't want to be prescriptive. It's up to the consortium to propose different things. I mean, in the past, we have had projects on of course, in this, with working with youth on R&I, on issues regarding to energy, climate, poverty, inclusion, and all of these things. So these are all promising fields. But as I said, okay, it's always something that we don't want to be very prescriptive about.
Okay. There was perhaps on the colleagues dealing with Slido, if you can go back to the other question that we had for Yorgos here. Otherwise, we first go back to Iphigenia. So Iphigenia, again, two questions. Perhaps the one I take on the difference between hackathon and talenton. Colleagues, if you read the descriptions, it's very different types of competitions and different types of target groups, and also the involvement of civil society, citizens in the hackathon is on a very different dimension than what you see in the talenton. So they are distinct. So we have basically three levels of competition. We have USIS for the youngest researchers, 16 to 18. We have talenton, and then we have the engaging one on the hackathon. But the role of citizens in the hackathon, perhaps you can explain a little bit better also, given the experience that we have with the last hackathons, how do citizens get involved in this?
Yes, so maybe also to add that in what we have seen in the hackathons is that often the teams or some members of the teams, they create companies, they create startups, and this is a very important outcome also of the hackathon that I think is not a part of the more research-oriented competitions. So really going to the market. Mm-hmm. And now the role of citizens, of course, the citizens, as we consider them in the hackathon, are the ones who want to address a problem in their communities, and they come together with researchers in order to find together a solution. So the citizens can be innovators, can be students, can be producers. We consider the researchers as one group, but basically the other part of the team is the citizens, in the sense that they are bringing the problem and they are working for the solution of the problem. So their role is very important because in a way this is one of the key elements for the success of these hackathons, in the sense that they provide solutions that are applicable, that are things that citizens need. And this is one of the differences from other types of hackathons that are more innovation, but in the sense of commercialization more driven.
Okay, so demand driven by citizens. Okay, exactly. Good. I think we are coming here almost to an end of the questions. There's one more on the hackathon again. We see a big interest there. Can you mention what outputs you're expecting from the hackathons if the co-created innovative solutions are the expected outcomes? I think you're looking more at, once the hackathon is done, what can be done to bring this into application? That's the step.
So, okay, so first of all, as we said, we have added to the hackathon an additional phase, which is not the normal part of a hackathon, so of the competition. And this is the support to bringing the innovative solutions to the market. So it might be support for the startups, if you know the teams from the hackathons create startups. It might be support in the sense of connecting with investors, with industrial developers, and so on. So these are the solutions. Is one outcome, because it's one very important result of these hackathons. But as I said, we have an additional phase of the action.
Okay, good. There's one more on one of your topics, Yorgos. What's the connection between the MLE? MLE stands for Mutual Learning Exercise on Public Engagement, which ended in 2025. So when we talk about mutual learning exercises, these are networks of member state representatives that work together with experts in certain areas to develop recommendations for their countries to advance in certain areas, and here on public engagement. Please.
Yes, Well, the relation is that the MLE that ran on this between 24 and 25 ran in the context of the first ERA policy agenda. And then we used it a bit as a ground to prepare the next action on this, the structural policy on trust in science through citizen engagement. So in that sense, it serves a bit as the springing ground, the background of this whole endeavor in terms of policy development, and should be taken into consideration as a pool of wealth of elements and knowledge that can be, factored into the proposals, and in any case should be taken into consideration in terms of the policy learnings for aspiring applicants.
Okay, and so what is available is in the end the report of that mutual learning exercise that people can access, right?
Absolutely, there are reports on that came out of this mutual learning exercise that are all available online. Yeah.
Okay, super. Good. Then I would suggest we stop here for the moment. We see our viewers again in a few minutes on Science Comes to Town. Thanks to both of you, and have a nice afternoon. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the European Research Area's inspiring journey towards a single market for research and innovation. Let's explore how the European Research Area is bringing science closer to citizens, especially young Europeans, and enhancing societal participation across Europe and beyond. Here are some outstanding examples of initiatives on green and digital innovations. Plastic pollution is a global issue, harming rivers, oceans, flora, fauna, and aquatic life. Plastic Pirates Go Europe is a collaborative science project. Initiated by Germany, Portugal, and Slovenia, it engages school children in exploring plastic pollution in Europe's rivers. Once a pilot project, it has now expanded to 13 European countries, supporting the EU's mission, Restore Our Ocean and Waters. Equipped with the necessary gear and information and guided by scientific methodology, these scientists in the making sort plastic, record its location on riverbanks, and monitor microplastic flow in rivers. Their data are then entered into the project database for analysis by researchers. As of now, over 16,000 students from 800 schools have sampled at more than 360 locations across Europe. The European Contest for Young Scientists highlights the EU's dedication to fostering young scientific talent. It takes place in a different city every year, and it brings together around 150 young scientists aged between 14 and 20 from all over Europe and the world.
My project is about designing new materials.
My project is about the theoretical and experimental investigation of ship wakes.
My project is about a planned vaccine system.
In 2024, in Katowice, in Poland, the grand prizes were awarded to 4 projects focusing on different areas of research, from developing greener batteries and solar panels to finding more sustainable ways to shipbuilding and farming.
ESS was wonderful. It was a great competition. I'm so glad the European Union hosted it.
I couldn't believe it, and I thought it was a dream.
A lot of adrenaline all at once, and I really can't wrap my head around it.
EU Talent On is a hackathon-style contest for early career researchers aged 21 to 35. Throughout the event, small teams of researchers work together to come up with innovative solutions to the most complex challenges of our times, based on the 5 EU missions.
We have to come up with a novel idea on the problems that are not yet solved by the biggest minds in the European Union.
At EU Talent On 2024 in Katowice, 4 bright talents were awarded the grand prize out of the 108 participants. The team, composed of young researchers from the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, and Italy, won the contest for their cancer prevention project, Breath for Life.
Fantastic ideas. It's so inspiring to be here, and it has been such a great experience to share this with my team members. I'm really excited for the next steps.
Bringing science closer to citizens and engaging with bright young minds who are building a more promising future for all of us is and will continue to be one of the main objectives of the European Research Area.
Welcome to the European Research Area's inspiring journeys
towards a single market for research and innovation. Knowledge transfer and intellectual property management must constantly adapt to the fast-changing world of innovation. Instead of simply sharing knowledge, the European Research Area has adopted a new approach, creating value from knowledge. This means meeting market needs, encouraging industry-academia collaboration, and promoting citizens' engagement. Knowledge transfer requires optimal knowledge access. The Future Resilience project developed a policy database to enhance European economic and social resilience and facilitate a swift response to future crises.
We are funding 10 Future Resilience Labs that bring together multiple stakeholders that will co-create policies to enhance societal resilience against multiple types of crises. We have mapped European research findings and we have collated that into a knowledge base with more than 600 documents with policy actions and tools to actually build societal resilience.
Another important project is METEX, as it redefined processes that could facilitate smoother knowledge valorization to the best interests of academia, industry and society through a national network of technology transfer offices.
TTOs, let's say technology transfer offices, are very important in the process of commercialization of research. In fact, they are the connecting points between researchers and the industry. Once patents are successful, they do have to enter into negotiation with investors. Any licensing that takes place brings money back to the university, which is then moved and support research, further research. But for the economy as a whole,
EU Sparks for Climate is the first European Citizens Hackathon Championship. This innovative initiative is bringing together teams of citizens and researchers to collaborate on developing technological and social innovation solutions to tackle climate challenges.
Events like EU Sparks for Climate are highly valuable because they mobilize people, citizens, to take action, promote innovative approaches to social and at the same time environmental challenges. It's a great chance to develop your skill, expand your network, and what is the most important, contribute concretely and effectively to climate action.
Creating an advanced mechanism for industry-academia collaboration was the focus of the InduSac project. Their model enables quick, effective and focused solutions of real-world problems, placing people and co-creating teams at the center of the process.
The thing I learned was more professionally and personally as well. The main thing was working with a different diverse team with different backgrounds and different countries. This was one of the experience which we all think it was very beneficial for us. And other thing was working on a real world project, which whatever we are trying to solve is currently giving to the society.
The European Research Area was and will continue to be one of the driving forces behind the transformation of research into new products, services, and business ideas, creating smarter and more sustainable solutions for society, producing economic value, and encouraging collaboration across different actors in our societies.
Good. Now, welcome back, and this time to one of my favorite topic, science comes to town. So we started that some years ago with the discussion on how can we come to a good, nice product here, and I'm super happy to have with us here Tim and Linda from the city of Kiel and the University of Kiel. They're the first winners, and in a few weeks from now we will be in Split to have the official launch of the Science Comes to Town 2026. So we're all super excited about that. I have with me here Maria from our team that is supporting the consortium and coordinating it from our side. We are in the process already of selecting the Science Comes to Town consortium for 2027, and the information should be out there to the applicants, and we have seen quite a number of good applications to the call in early next year. I'm not a grand fan of resubmissions, but I can expect here and accept here that, of course, if you didn't win in 2027, you might apply again for one of those time slots here. And we haven't changed much from one year to the other, so it's really about understanding where you can further optimize. But we get to lessons learned from applicants in a minute when Tim later on presents their experience and the do's and don'ts. But first, over to Maria to explain the call text and our expectation.
Thanks, Jörg, and I like that this has become a running joke of our favorite topics and our favorite call. But it's actually no joke, because it is indeed a very interesting topic and call, and I'm happy today to present what would then be the third and the fourth edition of Science Comes to Town 2028 and 2029. This topic supports a small group of cities, so from 3 to 6 cities. We can see that in the next slide, which will jointly design and implement a one-year-long program of activities aiming to connect science and citizens and involving a wide range of stakeholders around science and its contribution to society. What are the expected outcomes from this topic? We have identified 3 main outcomes. So the first one is that participating cities will then have stronger capacity and networks, and that they would be more involved in science communication and the citizen engagement in science, and that they would engage with a wide variety of citizen stakeholders and social and age groups that maybe normally wouldn't be so easily reached by activities funded by Horizon Europe. Then more informed and engaged discussion in the future of research, innovation and science in Europe, with an emphasis on inclusive and participatory approaches, always involving stakeholders within and outside of the EU. We will see also later that this is a call for cities in member states of the European Union, but also in associated countries of Horizon Europe. And then we expect to see more attractive research careers, especially for younger generations of scientists, careers in academia, in industry, or even in the private sector and entrepreneurship. We expect this by organizing within this year 2 main activities, USIS and EU Talenton, but we'll talk about that in a second. So the first call for Science Comes to Town 2028 is already open, and we closed on the 12th of March 2026, whereas for the 2029 edition we'll have to wait a while longer, with its opening on the 8th of December. It's a coordination and support action, and with a budget of 6 million, which will go to only 1 project. So it's quite of a budget, let's say. Let's move on to the scope. What is the makeup of the consortium? As I was mentioning just before, it's a small group of cities, minimum 3 and maximum 6 cities, of 3 member states or associated countries, but the majority of the group should be composed of EU member states. Consortium partners can be organizations. For example, you see here today represented the City of Kiel and the University of Kiel, but they both represent the city. So the City of Kiel in this case, that would join then the city in design and implementing this one-year program of activities, and that would include local partners providing the link between the city and the local environment and the science and research innovation. City authorities, of course, are a big part of this topic and should be part of the consortium, and they should manifest their commitment with commitment letters from the highest authority of each city. And the city, the roles, let's say, of the cities should basically be described in the proposal with a clear description of the city's contributions, resources, and support. What is important to keep in mind when preparing a proposal to apply for Science Comes to Town? So applicants should try to make a clear link with other editions of Science Comes to Town, and so that the coherence with the initiative's brand is ensured. We heard that Science Comes to Town is becoming a bit of a brand because it was already mentioned in discussion even during the previous topics calls. So it's good to know that it's becoming a bit more well known, and we want to maintain that also for future editions. Then it is important for applicants to establish synergies and propose synergies with existing initiatives that are funded by the European Union. For example, Researchers at School, the European Researchers' Night, and many others. We have seen, for example, in Science Comes to Town 2026, that is about to kick off, as Jörg mentioned, in January, that there is this clear connection with European Researchers' Nights and many others. Then it is important to include other events and activities in cities that are not maybe part of the main consortium of 3 to 6 cities, but also in satellite cities, so that the impact and the dissemination of these activities goes beyond this core. And it's also welcome that applicants display their ability to mobilize substantial resources that go beyond the 6 million grant from the European Union, but that they could raise this in the form of third-party contribution or in-kind sponsorships. Then another thing that is important to add is that one of the 2 events that we that are included in this one-year program of activities is the EU Contest for Young Scientists. The national organizer from the city proposed to host this event should be already involved in the proposal, either as part of the consortium or with a commitment letter. So for the program, we can see that in the proposal we should already have a proposal for the program, including the focus and the scope of activities with a clear link of previous and future editions, like we said, an outreach strategy, and a contribution to the long-term vision for the cities. So it is important that Science Comes to Town leaves a mark in the cities that are hosting it, and we would like to see that already in the proposal. Then a detailed draft program will be expected 3 months before the launch of the year. But it's not to be included necessarily in the proposal. As I was mentioning, under the program activities within the year, we have events, for example, the EU Contest for Young Scientists and EU Talenton, and other activities that are funded partially or fully by the Union contribution. And we have activities and events that will be financed by the participating cities or satellite cities with sponsorship. Same thing that we were mentioning before, beyond, let's say, the 6 million grant by the European Union. And the reporting will be necessary only for the activities that are fully or partially funded by the EU grant. But maybe in the remaining minute, let's say, we can have a look at the key components of the program, like the ones that I mentioned before. So USIS, this is an international science competition in the form of a science exhibition fair that is awarding prestigious prizes and visits, internships, etc. to 14 to 20 years old young scientists that have previously won a first prize at the national level. And another event that will be organized within the year is the European Contest for Early Career Researchers, EU Talenton, which is a competition more in the form of a hackathon that brings together early career researchers from 21 to 35 years of age that work on scientific challenges that are based on the 5 EU missions. And we have compiled also for the future applicants a list of points in the form of, let's say, do's and do nots that we can see in the next slide, yes. When preparing the proposal, we suggest that you get familiar already with these 2 events that I just mentioned, so with USIS and with EU Talenton. You can find all relevant information in the websites, including guidelines that are constantly updated. You should think about creating links with the previous and future editions of Science Comes to Town, and you should think about the coherence of the brand. And you should think about engaging with different types of legal entities and stakeholders, ensuring a wide coverage and a wide impact in society. The proposals checklist is pretty easy, and we have mentioned most of the elements already, but just to repeat, commitment letters from highest public authorities of each participating cities, the demonstration of ability to mobilize substantial resources beyond the grant, and the inclusion of the key components, the one-year program, USIS and EU Talenton, as well as the commitment letter from the national organizer of USIS, either in the consortium or in the form of the commitment letter. And that's it.
Super. Thanks a lot, Maria.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's a lot of information to digest, but perhaps we first go to Tim, and he tells us how it looks from the other side and if he has as much fun as us on our side. Tim, how does it look for you?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jörg. Thanks, Maria. Great to see you both. Yeah, so thanks for the opportunity to share here. I'm Tim from the city of Kiel, which is the administration for the city on the Baltic coast of Germany. And I'm joined by Linda Pialek, who's also with me who's the head of the EU and international research funding at the Christian Albrecht University here in Kiel. And she led our funding application, so she's really going to be able to help answer the questions about the don'ts, whereas I'm going to talk a little bit more about the do's. So it'd be great if we could go to the next slide. And I'll just start. Yeah, so Science Comes to Town 2026 is a project hosted in 3 partner cities. So we can see Kiel, Brest, and Split here. And this is where the active beneficiaries are. So that means the municipalities in the 3 cities, plus universities, other research organizations, and some regional agencies are also involved. Additionally, we have 6 more cities from the CEU Alliance. So this is another EU Commission supported initiative. And these are our satellite cities that you just heard about from Maria. So this makes it really a kind of a collaborative work right across Europe. And you can see that we have a very strong kind of sea and coastal orientation in our project. So yeah, the project in total runs from June 25 to June 27, but 2026 is our spotlight year. And the way we describe it is like a firework display of science communication. So we're talking about reaching 25 million people sort of across all channels within Europe, attracting 1.5 million visitors. This is like people to actual events. These could be like hands-on public events or workshops, training sessions, but also closed door policy dialogues, exhibitions. So kind of everything when people are engaged with the Science Comes to Town activity, we're counting that in there. We have gathered like over 70 associated partner institutions who are then enabling us to deliver over the course of the year over 1,000 events. So kind of like one event per day for 365 days in each of the core cities. And also worth mentioning at this point, in addition to these beneficiaries in the cities, we also have Science Business as a media partner. So what's the objective? Can we flip to the next slide? So there are 3 kind of shared goals that we have on a societal, an economic, and a political level. So the first one is to strengthen public trust in science, and then also highlight its role in promoting social responsibility. Second, we aim to boost local innovation by getting people and businesses directly engaged, involved with science. We want to spark curiosity, underscore creativity, and like develop, get new ideas developed out of this YERA project. And then thirdly, we want to help to drive more science-based policy making at the local level. So using evidence and expertise to tackle real world challenges. And really it's about like making the kind of administrations aware that this is even a thing, and then trying to drive that into a kind of real action. So who are we doing this for? Our approach really needed to be inclusive and for everyone. So we kind of have these 3 groups we talk about, which is the learners, participants, and this is, so when I say everyone, I mean like citizens, early career researchers, school teachers, students, local companies, startups, kind of everyone. And to frame that, we put it into these kind of 3 groups, which is learners or participants, then mediators, mentors and role models, which is really kind of like the science side of it. But then last but not least, we also have these facilitators who are the enablers of this communication that's happening, of this building these relationships between our kind of more sort of classic participant learner audience and then the scientists themselves. Yeah, and then if we could just jump to the next slide. We also then, we have these 3 goals I mentioned, but then we have these themes, and this is kind of at the heart of our program. We have these 4 big themes that really matter to our cities, but also are important, matter to Europe. So clearly we've included the sea and water. We're coastal cities. It's a really natural fit for us to use that. But then we've also have health and well-being, talents and cultural heritage. And these 4 themes that we use, basically we then have these 2 horizontal themes that touch everything that we're doing, and they are sustainability and Europe, of course. So yeah, let's jump forward to the next slide. Yeah, just talking about the actual formats that we've got now. You've just heard, so I don't need to talk about it too much. Maria's just given a great description of what Talenton and USIS are. But yeah, so we will have those 2 highlight events happening within our 365-day program. Both of them are happening in September. And the EU Talenton competition will be staged in Brest, where they will be challenging and inspiring the young researchers there on the kind of real world missions. And then USIS is being hosted by Kiel University, and really kind of, I think, an amazing opportunity for Kiel to bring together brilliant young minds from across Europe. And then beyond that, we have these other formats. So we're going to highlight many of the great activities that are already happening in our region, like the European Researchers' Night, which we've also just heard about, which we wrap into a whole kind of complete science day in Kiel. Then we've also got, we talk about an intercity science battle here. So this is a participatory science-based quiz engaging and connecting citizens across the 3 cities of Kiel, Brest and Split. And there'll be different pre-rounds, and then we'll have the final, the international final at the Kiel Week in June. Kiel Week is like one of the largest sailing events in the world. You get a lot of people here. So it's really bringing international flavor and showing that we really want to work together between the partner cities as well, that we're not just doing our own things. We're running a co-creation for people to submit their research ideas to be connected with scientists. It's already underway in 3 cities. In fact, today, this afternoon in Kiel, the 12 projects that we're going to go ahead with will be selected for implementation next year. There's also a joint citizen science study going on at the moment. So this is Brest taking the lead on that. And there's a study of citizen science projects from each city, and then kind of one successful project from each city will be selected, and we're going to try to roll it out across the other cities, or alternatively, depending on how the study goes, we may develop a new joint citizen science project that we all do together. And this is an area where we can also loop our satellite cities in as well, because to give them something like as an incentive to do something with us as part of Science Comes to Town. Children's University, this is another great, one of my favorite features that we have. So this is a concept that's been running in Kiel for a while, but we're rolling it out into Brest and Split as well. And we bring school children into the university lecture hall. They get a really compelling lecture by a great professor or researcher to spark their curiosity in science. And what's really important is that the parents aren't allowed into the room. So it's very much for the kids. And a really nice format, and that's starting already in January. And then we also have science show, I think, on the list here. Yeah, so science show, this is like, this is where within this format, we have early career researchers coached on using different performance methods to show in an entertaining and passionate way, show their own passion, how to kind of communicate to a lay audience what they do, how they do it, why they're doing it. We have some really great trainers for this in Kiel, and they're going to be train the trainers in the other cities to help develop this format. Yeah, so teacher training, this is about bringing teachers up to date, both from kind of formal and informal teaching sector, in their knowledge about science. I mean, quite often teachers have studied and become teachers, done a teacher training many years before. And so here we can like bring in some more modern scientific techniques and how they can use them as teaching tools in their classrooms. And also we have a rent-a-scientist format that's been running in Kiel for a while. And formats like that can be included then in this teacher training. And we've also got mutual learning on here. So this is really about bringing experts together to exchange best practice on certain topics, learn from each other and acquire new skills to apply and use in their cities. And again, we'll make this as international as possible. So let's have a jump to my last slide. Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for listening in. The first highlight of the year, and I'd love to invite you to it. It's on our website. It's a Science Comes to Town grand opening ceremony. It's happening on the 19th to the 21st of January in the city of Split. And there's a scientific conference, public engagement, excursions, and a lot more, which will really be setting the tone and energizing us for the year ahead. So you can find out more on the Science Comes to Town website about that. Thank you so much. Linda's joining us now.
Thanks a lot, Tim. That was very inspiring. We can see the excitement on your side as well. So indeed, I've been on your webpage. There is a lot of information there that can be useful. So whoever is interested in applying, please have a look there as well. We have around 5 minutes for questions. Any question we can't answer right now, please go back to our research inquiry service and submit them there. We are going to reply then offline. So the question perhaps for Linda, how much of the event program did you prepare at proposal stage, and how much of the details did you then agree afterwards with the Commission at the beginning of the contract?
For the proposal, it's not necessary to submit a detailed program, but what we did behind the scenes when we prepared, one of the very first things was we knew who the cities are, and we opened a spreadsheet, and everybody had to put in what formats, what events they already know would be happening in 2026 to see where there are synergies, and from this we also developed the themes. So we had a very good overview of what we can deliver and what we can deliver then and develop together on top of the existing events. So the new formats that Tim highlighted, these we are developing together in the course of the project, and we sort of described the concept of those. And the existing ones we had already in mind, but for the proposal, we only summarized them.
I'm going to bombard you with the next ones just to cover as many as possible. Did you already build on previous collaborations between the cities or the universities? How important was previous collaboration for the project, or did you build it from scratch?
Indeed, we built on a very strong existing partnership. So the city of Kiel and the city of Brest have been twinned for 60 years. We just had our anniversary last year. And this was sort of the core of this. We work there. It's a very active twinning partnership on all levels, research, school children, companies, and so on. And together, our two universities are also part of the same university alliance. And in that university alliance, we have Split, a new partner who is very, very keen, very much involved in European research as now, just like Brest and Kiel. And so we knew this was natural that we would work for them with them. And what our alliance does is that we work not only on the university level, but we also have a cities council. So within the 9 universities that we are and cities, we already are connected across Europe. And this made the proposal writing much easier because we knew each other, yes.
Okay, super. I think the next question is a very important one, and interested to hear your views on that, because we of course expect in the proposal a description of the additional resources that the partners bring in from other parties. So we're not only using the union contribution for the program. That can include also activities that are planned otherwise as well, but there is a certain leverage effect that we expect. And of course, that requires a certain creativity in finding these partners and sources. So how did it work in your case, Linda?
So we distinguished between in-kind contributions and a sponsorship. So we ask everybody what can they contribute in terms of facilities, events, things like that. And we sort of quantified that. The other thing is sponsorship. So of course, during the proposal stage, not knowing whether this proposal stands any chance, you will not get any, well, we didn't get any commitment letters from any potential sponsors. It was too vague, the concept was new. But what we could build on is our experience of big public events that we have where we do attract big sponsorship. So we have the Kiel Week in Brest, they have the Maritime Days and so on. And so building on that experience, we sort of showed that we have the capacity to mobilize, and this is what we are using in 2026. Yeah.
And are there any expectations in terms of what is the economic impact beyond the funding that the cities will see? And are you somehow monitoring that? I mean, you talked about the expected number of visitors. That, of course, is a good indication of economic impacts. Are there other elements, out of curiosity, that you look into and that can also perhaps inspire other applicants?
Well, there's things like increased interest from students maybe who will come to study here. We're already seeing now people asking to do internships from outside of Europe just to be part of Science Comes to Town. So we're seeing a lot of issues, like interest and things maybe that we will attract conferences to our city, so other events. So
good.
Definitely.
Very good. I'm afraid we have to stop here. I would have loved to have a little bit more time to discuss, but we have the next panel starting in 3.5 minutes and we still have to change our setup. So many, many thanks again. Looking forward to see you at the beginning of next year in Split. Thanks to Maria and everybody else back in 3 minutes from now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
What if you could experience and help shape science in your city, in your daily life? In 2026, science becomes visible, tangible, and experiential in Kiel, Brest, and Split. With over 1,000 events, 70 committed partners, and one goal: bringing science to the heart of society. For 365 days. Hands-on, fascinating, participatory. Experience research up close and discover how science shapes our everyday lives and future. Be inspired by science shows, compete in the intercity science battle, or actively contribute to research projects. Science Comes to Town connects people, business, and politics across Europe. Science Comes to Town in 2026. Get ready for a vibrant participatory program.
The EU Contest for Young Scientists is the largest and most important scientific fair in the European Union. This year it's the 36th edition, gathers every year young scientists from all over Europe and the world.
Nice to meet you in Riga.
I really still can't believe that I'm here.
It's a great opportunity to meet new people, learn about their culture, learn about their project.
This year we see a lot of project students are very eager, very innovative.
It's impressive. They're thinking about how it can be used in real life.
The use is important for them and also for Latvia to show how creative, how interesting science can be.
There's such a wide range of fields here. It's so great to see what each student is working on.
Over the course of the last few years, we have seen an increase in participation of girls, and this is very encouraging for us.
It's been so enjoyable getting to interact with all of the other participants, getting to learn more about their projects.
And the winner is...
I still can't believe that I won.
I can't even describe it. It's like adrenaline getting out. Kind of feels surreal.
It's just been so much fun all together.
And I'm so glad that I could be a part of this.
Day on the ERA part of the WIDERA Work Programme 2026 and 27. I'm here with Joanna, new with us, Michalis again, Hanna again, and Carolina. Now this is for something new because this is a RIA topic for new knowledge on ERA, so research and innovation actions, which allows you, of course, to have a completely different set of activities that you include in here. They are linked to a number of policy areas. It's about open science, it's about research ethics and integrity, it's about inclusive gender equality, back to Hanna. We have 2 areas on research careers, and we have a topic on the global approach to R&I. We have calls in both years, 2026 and 27, and we start with the 2026 call that has 6 different areas that the colleagues will present. 2007 has a single topic with 1 area. We do that later on in the last session that is starting at 4:30. I'll give 1 introductory slide to the topic and then we go through the different areas. 1 more slide, please. Yes, wonderful. So, call opening and closing is as seen on many slides before, closing on the 12th of March with projects starting around November 2026. We have a budget of 16 million and we have a recommendation of budgets per project of around 2 million. So we expect to fund around 8 projects in this call topic. It doesn't mean you can't submit proposals with higher or lower amounts. See with your consortium what is needed, but 2 million is a good indication. We fund this in a lump sum approach. As mentioned before, there's ample guidance on how to build proposals using the lump sum. Use that to make sure that you get that technicality right. Then important, compared to the CSA actions that we have shown previously, which have an overall threshold at 10, here we only fund proposals if they score at least 12. And you see the details in the call conditions. As in all the other topics, you have to make up your mind. You have to choose one of the areas and define clearly the area you address and build your activities and consortium around that. I think this is all I need to say as an introduction, and we go immediately with Anna Teresa, please.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm going to present Area 1, which is focused on reproducibility, this time through direct replication of scientific findings. And this area aims to address both technical and societal challenges related to research reproducibility, and it contributes to the ERA structural policy enabling open access science via sharing and reuse of data, including through the European Open Science Cloud. So it's about open sharing, seamless access, bearing in mind a strong connection with the FAIR principles. So in terms of outcomes, it is expected that the selected proposals will bring about new knowledge and methodologies through independent direct replication studies of selected high-impact research findings and ensure that these are available to researchers, citizens, and policymakers. On the other hand, they should also bring new innovative approaches to conduct and incentivize the replication of scientific findings and ultimately contributes to sustainable engagement and collaboration in replication of scientific findings across research communities. So these activities should involve important stakeholders, namely researchers, scientific service and infrastructure providers, as well as open science experts. In the next slides, we can see a set of activities that should be covered by the proposals. The main activity would be indeed the conducting independent direct replication of the findings of specified high-impact influential studies in selected research domains using state-of-art methodologies, and this should cover both experimental and computational studies, and should include studies where the original findings have been either controversial or where replication studies would be useful, in this case, to confirm or refine the results. They should also develop innovative, systematic approaches to replication studies, having in mind that there can be important differences amongst different disciplines and fields. They should be able to assess the replication findings and develop and disseminate best practices and concrete field-specific recommendations for increased reproducibility of scientific findings based on their activities. And in this area, also policy recommendations would be welcome. They should examine, in connection to the second point, these common challenges arising from the different domains and develop solutions that could potentially be generalized or adapted to multiple fields. They should also be able to develop and test innovative models to incentivize, to engage researchers to participate in replication studies. And ultimately, community building and networking are very important to support long-term endeavors and collaboration on replication practices. So these are the expected actions. Of course, newly additional complementary activities can be proposed, and these are also encouraged. And very important to note, these activities should build on prior art in replicating findings, findings of certain studies. And the proposal should also demonstrate that they are capable to perform and to finalize the replication of the findings within the resources and the timelines of the project. So I would leave it at that and give it back to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Teresa. Very clear. And we go straight to Michalis on ethics and emerging technologies.
Thank you, George. This area too, it's ethics of emerging technologies with high socioeconomic impact. And there is I would say, a pilot area for this exploration, which is space exploration and exploitation. So basically the idea is that proposals in this area should address the ethical challenges and design a robust framework to address the risks to fundamental rights, human integrity and environmental harm of space exploration and exploitation. This is a now rising field of research of policy interest and of course research ethics, and contributes to the existing ERA action, which is about a coordinated framework responding to emerging challenges for ethics and integrity in research and innovation. The expected outcomes of this of this area are about the need to the generation of new knowledge by researchers and ethics experts on ethical and societal impact of space exploration and exploitation. This is a new domain of, not that new in terms of guidelines, but new in terms of knowing, trying to find out what is there in terms of the new space exploration, new techniques and new technologies being applied in this space exploration trajectory. And so we need to generate this new knowledge and to make sure that this knowledge is shared among researchers, but also ethics experts. One other expected outcome is sustainable engagement through a robust ethics and integrity framework in applying responsible governance. So basically there the idea is that there is a framework, that the researchers build a framework which is going to govern this new domain of research. And they provide some orientation about the challenges and how these challenges should be overcome. The third expected outcome is the increased awareness and understanding of the ethical aspects of space exploration. Again, that being a new domain of research ethics or technology ethics, awareness needs to be built and understanding needs to be, let's say, designed in a way that all actors in the ecosystem of what we call responsible innovation are well aware of what is what we call ethical challenges or moral dilemmas in that area. The target groups are the usual suspects: researchers, ethics experts, members of national and local ethics committees, policymakers, innovators and technology providers, and the general public. This is, and I think it should be highlighted, that this is an area which is of increasing policy interest for the European Union. We have the first space program that was commenced a few months ago, and we also have the first act, the first framework, the first legislative framework for space, the European Space Act, which opens, let's say, aspires to put some order on or to set some rules with regard to safety, sustainability, and competitiveness of the space market. Next slide, please. So some key elements in the scope, some activities that are expected to be seen and developed within that area, and we're waiting to see them also in the proposals, reflected in the proposals. The performance of an independent study for the identification of the ethical challenges in relation to research and innovation activities on space exploration that should include risks for the integrity and the dignity of humans, approaches to minimize harm and maximize beneficence, and the responsible and sustainable use of resources. The sustainability of resources and the benefit sharing of the resources, but also the equitable access to resources, is a major ethical issue when it comes to space exploration. So there is a need to identify the challenges that surround this particular, I would say, question. Then we have the development, we want to see the development of a robust research and integrity framework, and of course training materials. Training is an important pillar of our ethics governance efforts in order to support actors at the EU, national and local levels in applying the so-called ethics by design principle for new technologies in space exploration. As mentioned before, this is a new domain. This is an area where ethics are not that visible. And so we need to, we would like for the proposals to build new training materials in order to somehow integrate and introduce the ethics by design also in that particular area. And last but not least, the development of and implementation of communication tools in order to provide open and transparent information about the ethical challenges and ways, responsible ways to overcome these challenges. Back to you.
Good, very good, Michalis. So we continue now with Hannah and two topics on inclusiveness and gender, please.
Thank you, Jörg. So under Area 3, we aim at enhancing knowledge awareness and access to strategies improving gender equality and inclusiveness in research and development intensive firms. This, of course, contributes to the ERA structural policy and their priority strengthening gender equality and inclusiveness in the ERA. We know that in European Union we have 34% of women researchers. But when it comes to business enterprise sector, the share of women researchers is only 22%. So that's why also it makes sense to cover this area and focus on closing the gender and inclusiveness and diversity gaps here. So what we expect from the project, or what are the outcomes we would like to see? We would like to learn more about, what kind of inclusive gender equality policies and practices in these firms are being implemented now, and what kind of methods and strategies are here or already applied to overcome the barriers that hinders the implementation of such policies. It can be either internal or external barriers, and last but not least, we also want to increase the access to capacity building tools and other resources for research and development intensive firms, and of course policymakers. The target groups of this area include research performing organizations, higher education organizations, but also other research and innovation stakeholders, for example, networks. We would very much welcome the participation of private sector organizations, including those research and development intensive firms, to enhance not only shaping the design of the project, but maybe also improve the access to this bubble of organization that is sometimes hard to reach. In the next slide, we then see the key elements we would like to see in proposals. First, proposals are invited to focus on specific fields or subfields of research and development with persisting gender and diversity gaps, focusing in particular on small and medium-sized enterprises and startups and scale-ups. This is only invitation. This is not mandatory. The consortia will be invited to explain their choice, why they decided to cover one area or one kind of or other type of organizations, and their reasoning will matter. When it comes to activities that we really want to see among activities that the project will implement. This is mapping of inclusive gender equality policies and practices in research and development intensive firms. It can be literature review, gathering of qualitative, quantitative data in their analysis, exploring the methods and strategies, enhancing the engagement of these firms in actions aimed at increasing the participation of underrepresented groups, and also development and dissemination of capacity building tools and resources. And this is all for the Area 3, and I would like to continue with Area 4. This one is very much related to the ERA structure policy, strengthening gender equality and inclusiveness, especially to the two outcome deliverables, focusing on monitoring of gender dimension in research and innovation content, and implementation of gender budgeting and expenditures tracking. These two interrelated deliverable outcomes of the ERA policy agenda will be fed by this project or by outcomes of this project. So those who are interested in providing proposals or preparing proposals, they are very much invited to check the ERA policy agenda and the explanatory documents to this structural policy. But back to the expected outcome of this project. We would like to have improved capacity to monitor, evaluate, and strengthen the integration of the gender dimension, including intersectional perspective in research content, as a result of implementation of this project. And we also would like to see and have standardized principles and methodologies and tools for gender responsive budgeting and expenditures tracking in research and innovation. And by this, to enhance the transparent reporting and also improve the access to high quality data, maybe also improve the accountability and in general, the policy decisions based on the quality data. The target groups of this area include research performing and funding organizations, higher education institutions, research infrastructures, as well as public bodies. In the next slide, we then see key elements in the scope. The proposals should include review existing knowledge, frameworks and practices. This includes, of course, checking the outcomes of the projects that focused on similar topics, for example, gender budgeting. And we would like to have developed with an intersectional approach, guidelines, criteria and metrics to assess and guide the integration of gender dimension in research and innovation content, and also principles for gender budgeting and expenditures tracking in research and innovation, including standardized methodology. These two bunch of, let's say, outcomes would be to create in close collaboration with European Forum subgroup on inclusive gender equality by the end of 2027. The other elements we would like to see or have from the project that should be covered as activities. It's the design of monitoring and reporting mechanism, and also close cooperation, as I already mentioned, the ERA Forum subgroup, but also cooperation with other key important stakeholders, employment of engagement activities and participatory approaches, especially in cases where we want to see the inclusiveness and intersectionality being involved, and build the capacity and foster mutual learning to increase the uptake of these methodologies and frameworks. So this is all for me for this moment. Thank you very much for your attention, and back to you, Jörg.
Thanks a lot, Hanna. So, Karina, you go last with two topics on research careers. What do we do for research careers?
Thank you very much, Jörg. Well, we have indeed two areas on research careers. The first one is addressing the trends and effects of research careers in the private sector and of intersectoral research careers. This is an area contributing to the ERA structural policy on making research careers more attractive and sustainable, and to support mobility. So the idea for this particular topic is to gain new knowledge, to generate new knowledge from the actions on research careers in the private sector. The private sector employs in Europe 56% of researchers, but we lack the evidence regarding how these careers are structured, how they deploy, and how they interact with careers in other sectors. This is precisely why the call is also on intersectoral research careers and their effects on knowledge diffusion. So the expected outcomes for this area is, as I was mentioning, improved knowledge regarding how these careers in the private sector are structured and how they develop, and how also they interconnect with other sectors. And in the second hand, a better awareness and knowledge and evidence regarding the type of knowledge flows that especially research careers across sectors trigger. So the connection between intersectoral mobility and knowledge diffusion in the European research area. So the target groups for this area is basically the research communities and research performing organizations, potentially also funding, universities and researchers in collaboration with business sector actors who would be the recipients of the research careers to be analyzed. If we move on to the next slide, please. The key elements in scope and the final objectives of the area would be to, first of all, contribute to the interoperability of research careers across sectors and countries. Of course, the better we know how these careers function and how they structure, the more interoperable policy will be contributing to make, or the better the policy will contribute to make them interoperable. And also to broaden the spectrum of research career opportunities for researchers themselves as the whole system gains knowledge on how these careers are structured and deploy over time. So proposals should conduct quantitative and or qualitative analysis, and here we are open, the call is open to a mix of methodologies, and this will be up to the consortia to design their own methods and approaches, so as to analyze the logics underpinning research careers in the private sector, and those again spanning across different sectors, and to analyze the role played by these careers in the valorization and diffusion of knowledge across the European research area. So this is the scope of this area, and if we move on to the following one, which has a different focus, again on research careers, but this time international research careers and talent flows. The purpose is to contribute to the same structural policy on making careers more attractive and sustainable, and to support mobility with a different focus this time, with the purpose of increasing knowledge regarding international careers. This is careers that span across the EU and third countries or associated countries to Horizon Europe, and about the interplay between research collaboration networks and international flows and careers. What are the outcomes we expect from this area? Well, first of all, a better understanding of the international dimension of these research careers that span across the EU and the rest of the world, and improved knowledge on the interdependence between these careers and international research collaboration networks, stable international research collaboration networks. So in a way, the interplay between institutional structures of research collaboration that are international and span across the EU and the rest of the world, and how careers deploy inside these networks. The target groups are, here again, research performing organizations, universities, researchers in collaboration potentially with other institutions. Proposals should explore and explain whether international research communities and networks provide the scope for careers to deploy internationally. So what is, again, the connection between the deployment of careers and the collaboration networks at international level, and how international research careers contribute to strengthening these ties and communities that span across the world. So here the focus is on not only on the career itself, but on the interconnection between career and international collaborations. Applicants may propose again a variety of empirical approaches and strategies, so the scope here is very open again to the creativity of the consortia and the applicants. Proposals should at least address some activities, like analyze the relevance of the networks, of the collaboration networks involving the EU and associated third countries in shaping the research careers. Analyze the relevance of how these international careers develop and deploy in the collaboration networks that are at focus in the project, and how knowledge flows are encouraged across the EU and the rest of the world in the framework of these networks and careers. Finally, we expect the project to provide policy recommendations on how to improve the attractiveness of research careers in the EU. So the ultimate purpose of these exploration and research is to understand better the place of European research careers in the world and to attract talent into the EU through the ERA structural policy, as I was mentioning earlier. So this is from my side.
Thanks a lot, Carolina. So you can already see interesting links between, for example, Area 5 and Area 3. So that also, again, underlines that we have to see, once we select proposals, how do we link the relevant activities. So here you can see clearly these are research projects, but with a purpose that directly links back to our policy activities. And what we want to get out of these projects is not only relevant for the colleagues in the Commission. Since this is work in the ERA forum, it links also back to the member states and to the stakeholders. So you will, once you are successful in this call, you will see there is a close collaboration with the colleagues that hope to get good advice on our future policy making out of these projects. So I think we just simply get quickly through a couple of questions here. Area 1, what kind of organizations do you expect in the consortium? I think you had it on your slide, but perhaps you can rephrase that again.
So indeed, thank you for the question. Indeed, what is clarified in the slides is that at least researchers, scientific service and infrastructure providers and open science experts should be included in this, let's say, collaborative spirit. But since the object of this call is something quite operational, so it's executing replication studies. There can be agreements and of researchers or universities that would like to take this forward. So there's a lot of flexibility and openness in terms of who can apply with a specific portfolio of studies that would deserve, let's say, being replicated. And this is, of course, to the discretion of the applicant, the kind of studies they would like to approach.
Okay, good. And on the ethics topics, there is a question if this particular action would be linked to the other ethics topics that we have in the work program.
I don't think there is an expectation. It would be interesting to see how the ideas behind any idea that is linking these three programs. I could see AI being I would say, the line that could connect these three dots, because also AI is going to be used in this space exploration. So we need to know how, we need to make sure that AI is used in a responsible way. And to make sure that algorithmic systems and anything related which is AI generated is going to be used in a way that is going to promote transparency, privacy, and ensure fairness. That's the main, I would say, challenge.
Okay. And I saw there is again a question on the Area 4 on the difference between gender budgeting and gender expenditure tracking. Hannah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this question. The gender expenditures tracking is more like of monitoring tool. In case of Horizon Europe, for example, we tend to check how the gender dimension in research and innovation content is integrated in the calls and then in the projects as well. And by this, we then deduce the amount of money that is allocated for gender equality as such. And then when it comes to gender budgeting, this is more like about how the budgets are designed and what are the allocations of money within this budget and whether the spending decisions advance or somehow limits the gender equality.
So the one is at the programming level and the other is at the project level in the end. Okay, good. Can I stay with you for a second? There is a question on the topic related to the industry, where we move now from looking very much at the public sector in the past, also to the commercial sector. The question is here: how do you define the R&D firm? Are you interested in specific subfields? What would we reply to that?
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. We have not intentionally selected any specific subfield. This is on each consortium to decide what kind of area they want to focus on. However, they will have to explain why this is the case. What we want to definitely see and focus on is the areas where the gender and diversity gap is persistent. So not gender balanced or equal areas. I would probably advise checking the She Figures publication, where we have the data and statistic. And when it comes to specific subfields and fields of research and innovation, then the Frascati manual could also be helpful in navigating what kind of options are there. If I can name just a few, then for example, ICT sector or research in ICT or energetics, there we have fewer women, but there can be also areas where men are missing, for example, in some fields of medical sciences. So this is it. When it comes to definition to research and development intensive firm, these are firms with a relatively high ratio of research and development spending to the revenue. It can be 5 to 10%. And in the text of this area, we link more guidance on how to answer this question in more detail. It contains links to Eurostat and as well the JRC Industrial Research and Development Investment Scoreboard that should help you navigate which kind of firms we mention. Okay, good, thank you. We have one for you, Carolina, on the second of your areas. What exactly do we mean by interdependence between international research careers and collaboration networks, and perhaps even knowledge valorization or knowledge transfers, which we saw in your previous topic?
Yes, thank you. This is indeed a good question. And I mean, maybe using an example will be easier. It could be relevant for policy and for our policies and for the structural policy and research careers, maybe to learn about why an EU researcher would want to go to Japan, for example, to work, or why an Australian researcher would want to come to the EU. But it's even more relevant, or it would be more relevant for us to see how, in the context of an institutionalized structure of scientific collaboration across Japan, Australia, and the EU, mobility and knowledge, mobility happens and knowledge flows. Why is that? Simply because this evidence is precious for policy and for managing these institutionalized networks in the future. So this is what we mean with interdependence between international research careers and international research collaboration networks. We want to understand better how these institutional sets for collaboration trigger careers and mobility and knowledge across the different geographical areas in the world, and how they contribute to the EU and to attracting talent to the EU. Happy to respond to additional questions if this wasn't clear.
Well, I keep you on the hook because there's one on Area 5. I mean, intersectoral mobility is something that's probably fairly easy to identify, because that's about people moving around. But here the question is, what is the knowledge flows that you are looking at, and how can they possibly be identified?
Yes, we assume, I think it's an assumption that intersectoral careers and the mobility of researchers across the different sectors mobilizes knowledge, and it's good for the ERA precisely because it mobilizes knowledge. But we search for evidence that this is the case and what type of knowledge it mobilizes and examples. We could maybe find co-publications between several sectors, the private and the public sectors. But not only, there might be many other ways to mobilize knowledge, training activities, tacit knowledge circulating across the different sectors. So understanding the dynamics of these knowledge flows and precisely the typification of these knowledge flows, because we might know some of them, but not all of them. So this is what the topic is expected to research and to learn, understanding better the types of knowledge that are diffused through these movements, categorizing them and measuring them to a certain extent, if possible.
Would startups and spin-offs also fall into that category?
Certainly.
Okay.
It's the private sector, yes, absolutely.
Good. Wonderful. Another good one. Is there a specific link to the Research and Innovation Careers Observatory? For those that don't know, that's a joint project between us and the OECD where we try to collect data on research careers. So how can basically the two projects link their outcomes into the observatory?
Well, this is indeed a very, very interesting question. The observatory is under development at the moment. The observatory is collecting, and it's a big umbrella bringing together the data produced by national statistical offices on research, innovation, talent, and mobility. The observatory is going to design and diffuse a survey over the next year, over 2026. So these two projects are indeed expected to contribute to the overall knowledge that we have in the community about research careers. It is complementary to the work of the observatory, indeed, and the projects can feed obviously on the information that the observatory is providing, and I would not say vice versa, but the information that these projects will provide will enrich the overall knowledge that we're collecting, both through the observatory and through other means. So complementarity, I think, would be the answer here.
Good. Perhaps a question for you, Michalis. I know we had a previous project, you mentioned it yourself, on ethics and emerging technologies, on AI. In a few simple words, what did we learn from that project that is relevant for this year?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's what we learned is the need to, especially when we talk about new policy domains, policy domains that are being developed in order to regulate or control a certain technology, that, for example, the ethics by design approach is useful, that we need to think about the ethical challenges or the socioeconomical challenges of a specific technological trajectory upstream, so as to make sure that we try to create a framework which is ready to anticipate and prevent or mitigate these challenges. And also it is important in order to guide the applicants from the very beginning and not to kind of go through the traditional trial and error approach, especially when it comes to ethics, especially when it comes to issues such as the protection of humans or human participants or the protection of the environment. I think we have to be rather precautious. And I think what we learned is that, especially when it comes to fast developing technological and policy domains, we need to be always, I would say, we always need to develop frameworks that are robust and future-proof, ready to be adapted and adjusted to the new developments.
Okay. I've seen once a presentation of the AI project, and I was impressed on how much they interacted at the international level. Now, I think for the space topic, it's also something that is probably quite logical. On the other hand, we have the strategic autonomy that all countries deploy for the moment. So how would you expect applicants to address that international dimension?
I think that what we have learned from the AI, I would say, ethics domain, is that there is that going your way is not always the best way. What I mean is that there are a multiplication and mushrooming of ethics initiatives around the world, especially when it comes to AI. And the risk there is what we call either ethics fragmentation, and researchers coming back to us, to our help desk, and asking which framework is the best one, which principles should be the guiding ones, and how do I need to translate these principles. And also there is a risk of ethics washing, that many actors speak about ethics or design ethical frameworks, but nobody really doing something concrete about this. And because ethics has been associated with a non-legally binding obligation, it is sometimes seen as something which is an add-on to the existing legal or policy, or let's say, framework. It shouldn't be the case, and I think it is important for researchers, for applicants, is to address the need for a global framework, a supranational, let's say, layer of governance that, especially when it comes to space, and especially when we talk about space as global commons, to make sure that these issues are addressed in a unified, or at least I would say consistent manner, and not to end up having a puzzle of different frameworks that do not necessarily are close to each other in terms of rationale, and that is only going to disorient researchers and create an innovation domain which is not that clear as to what is expected from the applicants or researchers in that domain. I think the fact that we have the first EU space program that was initiated a few months ago, and the governance framework at the very beginning, raises the need and is a unique opportunity for applicants to propose an ethical governance framework that is going to be associated with these initiatives at the very beginning. And this is, I think, a unique opportunity for researchers to also make a policy impact in that area.
Okay, so again, high expectations. Good. We have a last one here, perhaps for you, Hannah, on multiple applications, a company applying. I understood for this pillar, the companies are rather the research subject, but perhaps you can explain what you expect here.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. Well, the main difference is probably easily to say the pillar one is CSA. It's supporting actions where the organizations cooperate on improvement of their own internal policies. Yes, then they can of course develop some tools and offer it to other organizations, but the core work is on improving themselves, whereas the area under pillar 4 aims at gathering the new knowledge on, how the situation looks like in various organizations. It does not necessarily mean these all initiatives that will be researched are gender equality plans. It can be other strategies or measures that are not covered by this strategy. But the main core and difference is CSA and research and innovation action. And I do not have any suggestion on which to choose. I assume it depends very much on the priorities of the organization, on what is interested in. And indeed, in the pillar 4, we are more interested in what is going on in organizations in the private sector as such. And the improvement is the secondary or smaller part. The main part is really to increase the knowledge on what we have and what kind of barriers we have and what kind of strategies we can use. So I hope this helps, and if not, feel free to add more on this, or you can reach me definitely with FAQs. There will be FAQs under the work program, so we can then develop further details in case of need.
Super, thanks a lot. So I think we can close the session here. Again, as a reminder, work program will be formally published tomorrow. It has been adopted today. Calls will open in the next days in the IT portal. If you have further questions, please go through the research inquiry service. It makes sure that it comes to the competent colleagues and that everybody can see the answers as well. So many thanks to Carolina, Hannah, Michalis, Anna Teresa. Nice afternoon. And we see those of you back that have an interest in the international topic of upgrading EU's independent knowledge on China's S&T system. Welcome back at 4:30. Thank you.
Welcome to the European Research Area's inspiring journeys towards a single market for research and innovation. Gender equality is essential for fostering innovation, yet gaps still persist despite progress in certain areas. We are committed to advancing diversity and inclusion by making gender equality plans mandatory for applicants seeking EU funding. We also support projects that contribute to achieving this goal. Let's take a look at them. INSPIRE is Europe's Centre of Excellence, promoting inclusive gender equality.
We're also looking at how we have to explain that we cannot have excellent research without gender equality. We cannot have innovation without it being an inclusive innovation.
Regarding INSPIRE, I'm part of the Knowledge Hub 1, and specifically in the COP that we are trying to focus on how to sustain change at the institutional level. I really feel that change is possible.
Another initiative has been promoting the priority of inclusive gender equality within the European Research Area. Over the past 3 years, Gender Action Plus has collaborated with national authorities and research funding organizations to establish dedicated, innovative communities of practice.
Research is done by human beings for human beings. And we can't talk about scientific excellence then if we don't address the diversity of human beings. And if you want my tax company to fund research, my data, and my trust as a gay man, I need to know that the research ecosystem has my best interests at heart.
Having a gender equality action plan is just good business sense. Who wouldn't want to increase and retain their talent?
Gender Safe is a vital project promoting comprehensive policies to end gender-based violence in research and higher education.
Gender Safe is a EU-funded project that promotes zero tolerance for gender-based violence in the European research area, establishing safe, inclusive, and respectful environments by setting up comprehensive policies.
We have conducted a study into the needs of marginalized at-risk groups. Secondly, we have developed a model policy framework, which we are further co-creating and testing with our community of practice to develop a tool that institutions can use when they start developing their institutional policies. And last but not least, we are developing 2 monitoring tools, one for national authorities and the other is for institutions themselves.
With member states, associated countries and stakeholders, we are working towards a more inclusive European research area, where research and innovation benefit everyone and every talent can thrive.
So, welcome back for the last time. Now we are still in Pillar 4, New Knowledge for ERA, Research and Innovation Actions with a single topic in 2027. And I have with me Gian Andrea from our international cooperation colleagues. And the topic is about upgrading the EU's independent knowledge on China's science, technology and innovation system. And it's not a new topic. We had something similar some years ago. I'm sure Gian Andrea will mention that as well. So it's all yours, please.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure, of course, to be here, to be able to present this topic to all of you. May I ask the next slide? Thank you very much. So maybe before going into the specific elements that define this topic, I would like to start by framing a bit where this comes from. So actually, the Commission has been investing in the EU's capacity to develop knowledge on contemporary China for a few years now. This is because when Horizon Europe was being launched, so in the early 2020s, but even slightly before that, there was a realization by the Commission, but also by the member states, that there was a need to upgrade the EU's capacity to develop intelligence, information on contemporary China that could be used for policy making. So at the time, there was we realized that actually within the EU, this kind of knowledge was fragmented. There was a prevalence of classical sinologists, maybe looking more at, let's say, for instance, the history of China, but not so much at elements of information that can be used for policy making in a direct way. With Brexit, of course, a lot of expertise was also lost there. And within the China policy-making community, we realized that a lot of the information we were using was actually coming from abroad, be it the US or Australia or Japan or others. And of course, don't take me wrong, this was excellent knowledge, but we felt that there was a need to use knowledge coming from Europe, especially when it was directly feeding into policymaking. And that is why we started investing in this through Horizon Europe. Member states started doing the same also in their own programs. And we have now invested over 10 million euros in 3 different projects. This is now with topics. This is now the 3rd one that we are launching. And this specific topic focuses on our ability to understand China's science, technology, and innovation ecosystem more in depth. And here we are looking at the overall monitoring of China's science, technology, innovation ecosystem, but we also want to get granular. And so here we are looking at developing methodologies to assess also specific technologies, specific emerging technologies, also in comparative terms between China, the EU, and also other third countries. This information can, of course, feed policy making. And last but not least, of course, our objective is also to continue nurturing this network of expertise on contemporary China in the EU. We are targeting universities and think tanks, but also, of course, this topic in a way is also self-serving in the sense that it's very useful for us policymakers. This information, also information developed in the past through these efforts, directly feeds into the work that we do on EU-China policy. Next slide, please. Now, just going a little bit more in depth on the different elements. So the first, of course, objective is to have a clear understanding of how the regulatory and policy framework in China on this policy area is evolving. There is, of course, also the realization that this is an area of particular strategic interest to China, and hence information is not always so easily available or readily digestible, so it's important that we keep an eye on how this is evolving. Beyond that, we also have an interest, as I was saying before, to go granular, so work with experts in China's political system, economic system, but also technical experts that have in-depth knowledge on specific technologies. And we have an interest also in involving EU young researchers in this work. This is an important element of this project because we want to ensure that we continue nurturing this community also for the years ahead. And last but not least, there is the need to not reinvent the wheel. In the sense, we have already invested quite significant resources in previous projects. And of course, we have an interest that the successful consortium builds on that work, complements that work without reinventing the wheel. Maybe I'll stop here, and I'm happy to take questions.
Super, wonderful. Perhaps a question from me immediately. I mean, that knowledge that will be generated here, who will be able to access that? I think, of course, it goes to the Commission, but do we share this with member states? How much of this is available to the broader policy use? Is any of that public?
Yes, good question. So, of course, most of this is public, but there is also some work that is done behind closed door with Commission officials and also with member states. Some of this work is also, for instance, stored internally in the Commission and shared with different DGs that need the specific type of information, be it about China's financial system or economic system or else.
Okay, and we have already quite a few questions on Slido here. First one is on restrictions in terms of participation. Perhaps we can explain to our viewers what exactly we mean here and who can participate and who cannot participate.
Absolutely important question. So indeed, this topic foresees restrictions through Article 22.5 of the Horizon Europe regulation. We are extending eligibility to member states and EEA country entities only. This is not new. In fact, we have used Article 22.5 in previous iterations when we have in previous topics linked to this work stream. And this is primarily for the reasons that the information produced is seen as a strategic asset, right? And it directly feeds into the discourse that is happening on EU-China relations. Hence, we want to have a clear idea and, let's say, control oversight on who takes part in this work.
Okay, good. About taking part, we also have this notion of involving young research in the call text. Can it only be done by being employed by consortium members, or are there other ways of young research to get involved or to be involved?
Yeah, so here we don't have, let's say, a clear transcript on how we envision this to happen. Well, the first thing we thought is fellowships, for instance. So specific think tanks or universities could create fellowships for young EU researchers to take part in some of the activities of the successful consortium. But of course, we leave it to the potential applicants to propose different solutions there.
Okay, good. There are a couple of questions on the scope. Why the focus on science, technology, and innovation, while previous topics were broader? I'll let you comment on that. And how many different technology areas should be addressed or should be comprehensive?
Okay, very good, thanks. So the first, indeed, I mean, this is correct. In the past, the past topics were a bit broader in scope. We looked at China's foreign policy efforts, domestic policies, economic issues, etc. This time, we, together with the experts that participated in previous iterations of this work, and also with Commission officials and different services, we actually realized that we should try to focus our efforts further and get more granular on some key policy issues. And hence, we chose science, technology, innovation because it's a cross-sectoral policy that underpins a lot of the different policy strands that are ongoing in the Commission, for instance, the economic security strategy, the competitiveness compass, etc. Hence, this was seen as an area of particular policy interest by the Commission. And on how many technology areas should be addressed, well, for us, we would start, of course, with 10 critical technologies that are listed in the annex to the communication of the economic security strategy. These are the technologies that are foreseen for risk assessment of member states. So we should start there. But in the topic itself, we underlined that there's also a need for foresight exercises and to try to understand what other technologies might be relevant and we should be looking at. So that's not, we don't have a closed list on technology areas.
Okay. You mentioned before that also member states and their programs have started to to do their own investigations, let's call it. Given that there's only a limited number of organizations that can provide that kind of knowledge, how do we avoid to have duplication of efforts, double funding? How do you see that coming together?
Well, yes, we are aware of a few member states launching parallel calls on similar issues, but we are, I would say, confident that the way in which Horizon Europe proposals are structured and need to be submitted might mitigate some of that potential, let's say, double funding.
Okay, good. Good. There's also the question where I can find existing knowledge, tools and resources. We have referred before to the ERA policy platform, where we have across actions stored the outcomes of previous projects. Is there another source that you would recommend for this particular topic?
Yes, so, well, there's, of course, I would suggest consulting the web pages of the three, let's say, projects that have been running in the past. So one is EuroHub for Sino, the other one is Reconnect China, and the last one is dealing with a resurgent China.
The negotiations, the grant agreement signature, and is the first interface, but in all areas where we have a strong interest to make sure that the Commission colleagues, the policy officers follow the action, there will be that additional interface, and that will be organized on a tailored approach depending on the area. So here you can expect that the policy officer in charge will be very closely involved in project meetings and others. So you will see his face or colleagues' faces quite often. There was also before the question again on the young researchers, so just to underline that they don't have to be identified upfront necessarily, all of them in the proposal. They don't have to be in the consortium as employees of the institutions, but they can also be identified in the long run and then brought into that with fellowships and other means of getting them involved. With this, I think we have a nice closure of the day. Many thanks, Andrea.
Thanks to you. Thanks to you.
This is now the time to close this afternoon. Again, remember, we have another big session on the 22nd of January for the widening part of the work program. For those that found this today interesting enough to apply, all the best of success. The competition is there. We have seen good submissions in the last calls, but our success rates, I think, are still acceptable. So best of luck with the proposal preparation. On the slide, again, we have the important links that you should use, including also the one on the lump sum that we saw before. The slides will be online in the next days, as will the video continue to be online on YouTube. It's now time to thank, first of all, the colleagues in my team, Anita, Kaya and Lorenzo, that helped behind the screen today to make the success. And of course, a big thank you and applause to our colleagues from the studio that made a brilliant job again. And it's really so nice to be again here year after year. Many thanks, colleagues, and well done.